Welcome back. Mike Riggs with the Reason Foundation, Reason.com, associate editor of Reason Magazine, too. On the line with us. Mike, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Tom. How are you?
I am fine. There's two things on my mind. Number one is this, you guys are talking about ending the federal crackdown on medical marijuana. I think it's one of the few areas where I agree with libertarians.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'd say it's one of them.
So,
Definitely.
What's your take on where this is going and what we should do about it?
I think where this is going, I mean, last week there was a poll that came out that for the first time there's a majority of Americans think that Obama should end the crackdown on medical marijuana raids. I think we may have seen this sooner if this was something pollsters actually cared about. But there's that. There's the fact that he promised when he was campaigning in 2008 to sort of stop the crackdowns, which were a signature issue under George W. Bush. There's the fact that in 2004 he said that he thought that marijuana should be decriminalized. So, the two things you sort of really have going here is public opinion says, this stuff is fine. People should be allowed to use it, especially in states that have legalized it. And then on the other hand, you have Obama who said that he'd stop cracking down. I mean, there are other issues, too. There's the law enforcement questions. There's the science behind using marijuana as a treatment for pain and a better alternative to prescription pharmaceuticals. But the two big ones I would say are the politics of it, which is that people think it should be that states should have legalized it, people should be able to do it, and Obama already said he would stop cracking down. Right, and so it's time for him to keep his word. I am totally with you on this. I think, frankly, personally, I think that he cracked open the political world by endorsing marriage equality, and I think if he were to endorse, at the very least, a total rollback of federal laws that prevent states from administering their own marijuana laws, particularly with regard to medical marijuana, I think he would create another one of those giant cracks among the independent and weak Republican constituency that is largely libertarian-leaning. I think that this could actually be the thing that pushes him over the top. The hard right guys in the base who are already running around, screaming that Obama wants gay marriage on every street corner or something, they will then start screaming, now he wants, people smoking dope on every corner. So what? Those people are going to be crazy no matter what. He's never going to get them no matter what. But I think that rational or semi-rational conservatives, libertarians, what do you think? Absolutely. I think, there's a growing list of issues on which Romney and Obama are sort of indistinguishable. I think some of those are going to be kind of difficult to create any daylight, but marijuana is a really easy one. Obama doesn't have to do anything. All he has to do is stop doing something that's expensive. I mean, these are hard fiscal times, so he can just say in the 16 states, in the District of Columbia, where medical marijuana is legal, let's stop cracking down. It's really that simple. It creates a huge amount of daylight between him and Mitt Romney. And the other problem, I think, with his and Romney's similarities on this issue is that they both sort of handled it the same way, which is they've sort of turned it into a joke. I mean, Romney, there's this sort of internet famous video of a person in a wheelchair who I think has some form of palsy saying to Romney, I suffer chronic pain. Do you think I should be allowed to use marijuana? And Romney just looks at the guy and sort of chuckles and says no and then walks away. Right. He actually kind of treated the guy like the guy had just said, I have tuberculosis and I'm about to sneeze. Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, basically Romney treated him like a leper. The most horrible thing he'd ever been faced with. Right, yeah. And Obama has an equally bad habit of sort of just shrugging this off when he's approached with it. I mean, he's been asked several times since he was elected, what about this promise you made? And I think when he's been asked that question publicly, like at the YouTube Q&A sessions that he occasionally does, he's laughed. And when he's had the conversations behind closed doors with journalists, more intimate settings, he's come up with these sort of bogus things saying, I never said I'd allow medical marijuana. I simply said we wouldn't be locking up cancer patients. Right. There are still raids on individual homes done in states where marijuana is legal on patients. There are definitely raids on dispensaries. And so what if Obama is not locking them up? He's still keeping these people from getting access to their medicine and forcing them to go the much more expensive and much more sort of,
less holistic path of taking heavy-duty prescription pharmaceuticals.
Right. I'm totally with you. Mike, question as a libertarian, I'm assuming you self-identify as libertarian.
I mean, when I'm forced to identify something, it's that. Yeah.
Okay, here's the question. Capitalism creates winners and losers. Libertarians generally, if you ask libertarians which is more important, democracy or capitalism, their answer would be capitalism because it facilitates democracy. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the
Okay.
idea is that
So the second knock on from that, or the second step on from that, is capitalism by its very nature creates winners and losers. What would libertarians do with, for, or about the losers?
With, for, or about the losers. So, I mean, the sort of libertarianism I identify with, and I think most of the people I sort of consort with, is this idea that we should have a basic safety net. I mean, you can look at a lot of libertarian.
But that's not libertarianism.
You know what? I mean,
that's Eisenhower republicanism.
I think the shrinking the size of the safety net is, probably a good idea. I mean,
Why?
Why? Because
I mean, have you ever tried living on $3 a day as your entire food budget?
I think the problem with the safety net, Tom, is that it, just like every other government program, it experiences mission creep. I mean, one of the reasons the war on drugs is so large right now is because having a job as a police officer is now...
The war on drugs is not the safety net. That's not what we're talking about.
The war on drugs is a part of the welfare program.
I'm not talking about the war on drugs. I'm with you on that, but it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's not a multi-billion-dollar industry that has grown up around people being on food stamps, and food stamps are basically it's $3 a day. And you got 44 million people who literally have to have this in order to eat. And on $3 a day, all you can buy is crap food. And it's like, and you want to dial that back, and I don't understand why.
No. I've said on your show before that I think that actual welfare for poor people, I'm fine with that. I have a problem with corporate welfare. I have a problem with corporatism. I have a problem with the amount of money we spend.
Well, then if you're fine with it, you're not a libertarian. Because Ron Paul would put an end to all of it.
That's simply not true. I mean, to say that Ron Paul is the only kind of libertarian.
Well, the Libertarian Party would put an end to all of it. That's the official position of the Libertarian Party, is that the only role for government is to enforce laws against fraud and to have an army and police force.
I understand what the platforms are. I get it. I get what you're saying. But I also think to say that there's only one type of libertarian or one type of libertarianism is to point to people like John Corzine and say he's the only type of liberal and the only type of Democrat, that Cory Booker is the only type of liberal, the only type of Democrat. And I know that you would feel uncomfortable with that, and that your readers and your listeners and your audiences would feel uncomfortable with that.
But I think there's some basic litmus test issues, and one of them is the role of government. What roles government should play. It really sounds to me, like, Mike, that you're taking the position that the Republican Party did before it got hijacked by the Reagan administration, by the crazies.
I have no problem with having a small safety net. I absolutely have no problem with that. I just think, one of the concerns that I know the libertarians want no safety net, one of the concerns that they have, and that I think is a real one, is that the more things that you give the government to do, the more things it's going to say it needs to do. Okay. So I understand
Mike Riggs, Mike, we're out of time. Reason.com. Thank you, Mike.